to me, the most liberating and inspiring message I can give really is that we were not made to be slaves. We were not made to be slaves. We were made to be free and to have some say in shaping our own destiny and the destiny of our families and communities. And the current system we live in does not respect and honor that natural God-given freedom.
So I wanted 5, right? And I wanted 4 or 5 kids too. And then at 3, we just tapped out. Mate, we've got a very small house, and we just thought, going up to 4 or 5 kids, we'll need a bigger house. Like, we only have 1 bathroom. Even now, like in the morning, it's quite stressful using just one bathroom. So, like, we'd have to have a bigger house, and we couldn't really afford that, and we didn't want to stretch ourselves out to do that. You need like a people carrier. The costs do go up, like the more children you are. So we tapped out at 3. So you were going to have how many?
Well, maybe in an imaginary world, I would have had about 6. but then at this point in life, and also my wife had had 2 C-sections, so that kind of also, you have to be a bit more cautious about, how many C-sections you can have. And so that's also a little bit of a limiting factor. But I think we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. We're open to providence and, it's a balance between prudence and generosity. Yeah.
You never know. Yeah. There's always curveballs that come at you. The reason I'm talking about kids, Buster, is because you wrote a Substack about falling birth rates. And, I think you hit most of the issues. I think you talked about how Keir Starmer was, asked about falling birth rates. And that was an opportunity. If I was a politician, if I was the leader of the country, and I'm looking at the demographics and I'm thinking, right, our population's dropping. We don't even have enough babies to replace what we have. We're actually shrinking. This is a national disaster. Like, just because it's not a problem right now, it is a train crash that will happen. We can witness it happening. Why don't we intervene now? Why don't we interject policies or, not just government, because I don't believe in government coming up with solutions. I mean, they're just great at making problems. But like businesses and communities talking about the need to have more children and making work more child-friendly. But, our politicians don't talk about that. Yeah. And it's a crisis, isn't it, here in the West?
Absolutely. It's an international crisis. It's a global crisis. There are many, many countries that are below replacement level, including India and Russia and basically and much of South America. People often say it's just the West. It's not just the West. It's much of the world, in fact. And Keir Starmer's response to that, which was sort of it's a private choice, was just so facile. Like, he doesn't even, it may be that he doesn't personally grasp the magnitude of this crisis. I mean, because basically as a civilization, we're going extinct. This is what's happening. And if we don't get our act together, then it's not even just Europe. I mean, it's a lot of countries around the world. And then you have aging populations across the world. That's what you're going to have, growing huge health costs, unsustainable health systems. It's all going to end up kind of, it's going to break down our health system gradually. And it's also going to make the whole welfare system totally unsustainable.
Right, hold on.
Because, the famous pyramid.
Yeah. But listen. That's a very grand, very dramatic statement where the human race is going extinct. Like, hold on one sec. That we get told... We get told every day that, like, there's too many people on this planet and we need to get rid of, like, people, and the people are destroying the planet. I mean, so I think people like Keir Starmer, the WEF mob, would be like, great, there's going to be less people. I mean, that fits into their kind of agenda, the whole Club of Rome business. Wink, wink. But no, seriously, when you say going extinct, like, what kind of time frame are we talking about? And are you exaggerating? Like, what? Can you just explain that? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Yeah, I just mean simple mathematics. I just mean that if people on average are having children at a level that is below what they call below replacement level, it just means that gradually the population that is having that birth rate is going downhill, is losing people until it gets to zero. Okay, and it just disappears. But that would be many generations ahead, that you would end up having literally no people in our society left. But I'm not so worried about when we get to zero, because then there'll be nobody to suffer anymore. I'm more worried about the intermediate phases, when we start noticing that basically that we don't have a labor force to be able to, we don't have people to work and do basic jobs and services. That we have to be basically going to Africa and putting ads in newspapers to try to persuade people to come over and work these jobs who may not even have the training. And so this whole idea that immigration is the big solution also is not very convincing, because it's actually a big deal to culture matters, and also education matters for both for economy and for social life. And so you can't really just simply say we're going to replace people with people from abroad, and that's going to fix all our problems. There has to be a transition. Let's just say there has to be some continuity, culturally, economically, socially, in our society over time, because it's a matter of passing on values and ways of life to future generations. And if our society is disappearing over time, then, I mean, I'll give you an example of where, a kind of analogy, if you want, which is depopulation of the rural areas, rural depopulation, which is happening in many, many Western countries, with many towns and villages across the country just losing population because there aren't jobs or opportunities, so people are leaving them. And those places are decimated, and they feel the effects. They don't have young people, it's less vibrant, elderly people are more isolated. And so that's just an example in terms of the transfer of population to the urban centres. But now even the urban centres are, in a way, you could say, are depopulating gradually over time. I mean, I'll just, a little anecdote. I remember I've gone to a few different towns in the north of Spain and also in the south of France, where literally there are almost no children to be seen. I mean, basically, very, very few children. I mean, I went to mass in this place in I can't remember the name of the town now, but anyway, we went to mass, and basically we were there with her baby, and there was one other family with a baby or with a child, and everybody was coming up to us and wanting to see the baby, because we were the only people in the whole mass. There were like hundreds of people at the mass, and we were the only people who actually had children. And I remember thinking, this is like an image of things that could come in the future, how things could be in the future. You know, it's almost dystopic. It's like these movies. There's some movie about that where children are like so rare.
No, so I'll tell you the movie. I mean, you just gave me the chills. And honestly, I was, like literally, because I find it terrifying. I'm literally got goosebumps all over me right now, just hearing this from you, because there was a movie called Children of Men, and people can't have children anymore, and and if you just think about it, if you don't have children, that's the end of humanity. If we can't reproduce, and if you just think about it, if today people stopped having children, that's it. In 1 generation, 2 generations, that's humanity extinct from the face of this planet. And in that movie, there is one baby, and everyone is looking at it like, wow, and they want to touch it, and they're just like in awe, and it's amazing. And that's what you're describing now. You're traveling in the north of Spain, and you go into a church, and there's hundreds of people there, and like there's only 2 babies. And the thing is, towns and villages and communities should be filled with the cries and laughter and squeals of children. That's our life. That's our raison d'etre. And now we don't have that. And I just think that's so desperately sad. There's a
it
problem.
is sad, and the reason why people don't wake up to this problem is partly because it's a problem that is, it's a bit like the kind of the frog in the gradually, in the water that's getting warmer gradually. It doesn't notice what's happening because it's gradual. And I think in this case, if somebody just say, if tomorrow we looked around and there were no children, people would go, whoa, there's a crisis.
Right, folks, that was a snippet of my brilliant conversation. If you want to listen to the rest of the podcast, you're going to have to subscribe to my Substack or my paid Spotify subscription. Remember, folks, I have 0 corporate sponsors. I am 100% supported by you, the people, and I am working for you, the people, and your families. Remember, this is the UK's best, and if not the world's #1 freedom fighting podcast. So support the show, especially if you're listening regularly and enjoying the work that I'm putting into this. I can't be doing this without your support.